Hello and welcome to another episode of I Am. My name is Hayden Ali and I am the producer and the host for this show. And this week we are highlighting Mr. Jacob Blair, who is a junior here at Northwest and is involved in the media department as well. So how are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show. So can you tell me just a little bit about your degree here at Northwest and what you study?
So I'm a sports media major, so I'm involved in a lot of the sports stuff here at school. I'm more on the radio side, so more focused on play-by-play, sports talk there. But really, like I said, it's my key. What I really want to do is sports play-by-play and overarchingly just work in the field of sports.
Awesome. Have you always been really into sports, or is this just something in college you decided, hey, this major sounded like fun? And
I've always been really into sports. Like there was always other things, but what I looked forward to is sports on the weekend, or whether that was watching them, whether it was a Chiefs game with my family, or actually playing sports, basketball, among other things, during the weekend. And going out and actually being a competitor. So there was that competitiveness, that competitive fire that unfortunately you get to a certain age where not everyone can continue participating in what they want to do. So in order for me to kind of get to be involved in it, I had to take a different route.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you're a Chiefs fan. What's your take on the season so far?
It was good up until here recently against the Colts.
Yeah.
That was a rough game. A lot of injuries, so the Chiefs got a lot to work on. But you still have those key pieces, obviously, in Patrick Mahomes, that there's not too much panic yet.
So you mentioned football. What are some other sports that you're really into?
Basketball is one of them, but then the big one for me is racing. That's been the biggest part of my life throughout the 21 years of being here.
Sure.
It's been racing, and that's the ultimate goal of where I want to work is in the field of motorsports.
Just kind of taking it back here, talk about when you first discovered racing, how you figured out this is really the sport you wanted to do.
So my dad and my grandpa, they liked racing. They were just spectators. They'd go to the Indianapolis 500. They had season tickets there. I think our family, we've now had season tickets there for over 30 years for that race. And they would go. So my dad, when I was 14 months old, took me to my first race at Gateway in St. Louis. It was a champ car race. I don't remember anything that happened. I was 14 months old.
Yeah.
But from there, I'd go to races from 2 to 3. I think my first Indy 500, I was 3 years old. Again, don't remember anything about it other than the stories my parents tell me of. I would just sit there and watch. You don't see that from 3-year-olds. Normally, if you take a 3-year-old to a race, they're going to get bored 20 laps in, and you got to have things for them to do. I just sit there and watch. So then as I would get older, then I'd start watching more on TV. If my parents wanted to do something when I was 4 years old, they'd just give me essentially my Hot Wheels. They were all 1/64th die-cast, like actual NASCARs. They just say, here's the floor.
Go have fun.
And I would be there all day and wouldn't bother them all day and would just take care of that. So then by the time I was 8, and on what was the old Speed Channel, that's no longer there, but there was a feature about drivers and when they got started, and all of them it was 5, 6, 7 years old, and I turned to my dad and I said, I want to do that. He went out, researched a little bit because he'd always kind of liked the sport and was like, well, maybe this is something we could look at doing. He got me a go-kart for my 9th birthday, and now we're here, 12 years later, and still going.
That's awesome, man. What would you say is your favorite race you've done, or maybe a race in the past that just really stands out to you?
But the one thing I always struggled with was running that cushion. I couldn't quite get it figured out, and then that last race this year, 20 green flag laps up there the whole race. Was able to come home with the top 5. Lost my brakes midway through the race.
Oh my.
Got a soft brake pedal, so then you're dealing with that. Finished the race, and that was a good moment. The other ones are where you kind of look back on the wins. In racing, wins are special because it's like for me, it's been 7 years. No, 5. 5 years since I've been in any victory lane. So you look back at those, and those races, those are your perfect races, and you don't get very many of them.
Yeah.
And especially when you're running a sport where it's not all about talent. There's money involved, there's equipment involved, there's a lot of different aspects. Those wins mean a lot. So going back to those in 2014 to just click off those perfect laps, it's really any time I get in a rhythm, and then you just kind of zone everything else out, and the only thing you can remember from what happened was like your connection with the steering wheel to the pedals.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for sharing all that with me and taking the time to be on the show.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot about a sport. I didn't know much about it, so it's been awesome to learn more. So thanks for sharing, man.
Thank you.
So that's all we have for this week's episode of I Am, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode. We'll see you guys later.